Hi, I'm Mark Lim and I'm with Mike Guerin today, and Mike's going to be sharing some tips with us on strategy, but before we do that I'll just quickly introduce Mike. Mike was the managing director and has had a lot of managing director positions. One of his big achievements was in 2002 as managing director of ANZ, Rural and Regional Banking, where Mike turned around the business from a market share of 6% to a market share of 9% within about 3 years. And that resulted in about $18 billion of added value in the balance sheet.
That was the balance sheet at the end of that period, Mark, yes.
Okay, yep. Great. So Mike's had a lot of achievements, and this led him to become the managing director of ANZ Pacific, and has had a number of managing directors roles throughout time, and is now the CEO of the Diemans land company. So thank you very much for joining us, Mike, and welcome.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
So Mike, talking about strategy, I find that most businesses have a very unclear strategy and they don't know exactly what they're doing. Can you tell us why strategy is so important?
I view strategy as very similar to things we do outside of work. If we have a clear focus on where we want to go and why we want to go there, why it's important to us, then it's much easier to define what you do with your time and where you put your focus. Whereas if you don't have that clarity about what's ahead of you, then it's easy to wander in a day, whether that be in your personal life or your professional life. And the second thing is, when you think about how you want to focus and what you want to do, it's partly around thinking about where you can contribute best. So what are your natural advantages, or in the case of a business, what's a business's natural advantages where they can add most value to what they do. And that's one part. And then secondly, it's really important that it's a head and a heart decision. So as individuals and as organisations, we enjoy doing things more than others. So those elements are really clear to building clarity and strategy, and I find so often organisations don't go through that thinking. It's not complex, it doesn't need lots of PowerPoints and lots of consultants. It's just an honest view about understanding what you want to do, what you're good at, and defining that clearly, so as we go about our business day by day, or as individuals go about their lives day by day, we really know what we're aiming at.
And I find that sometimes, and quite often actually, that the reason for the lack of strategy, or having no strategy, is sometimes businesses don't know why they exist. They don't know what their mission is.
Yes.
What do you think about that, and how could a company or an organisation develop a good strategy by having a good mission?
Yes, I agree entirely with what you say, Mark. So perhaps I could use an analogy again, thinking about businesses versus individuals. We were all born as human beings with natural advantages and natural disadvantages versus our peers, and we all know what they are. We know what we're good at and what we're not good at. So, for example, all of us, or most of us, if we dedicated a few years to it and focused on it and really tried hard, could probably run a marathon fast enough to represent Australia at the Olympic Games, for example. But those of us who are born with more of a natural more natural physical ability would be the ones most likely to get a gold medal if everybody trained equally. So, for example, I'm not a natural sportsman, so if I spent 5 years training for a marathon and the person next to me was a natural sportsman and put as much effort into their training, they would be more likely to win the gold medal, because you combine natural talent with good hard work. And to me, an organisation is no different. You need to understand what your natural advantage is as a start point, and then it's about hard work and energy and focus and all those things that follow. And quite often the lack of clarity, as you talk about, comes from the idea of not being honest about what you're good at, but equally what others are better at. So therefore leave them to contribute where they can best contribute, and orientate and focus your organisation directly on where you know you can add value beyond others naturally. And without hard work it doesn't work, but putting the two together you get a better result.
And do you believe that people should be passionate about what they do in business? Do you think that would give them more of an advantage?
I do. Not only does an individual have to be passionate about what they do, but an organisation, which is a living, is a living thing to me, and a collection of a whole lot of individuals, the organisation needs to be passionate about what it does. So when you talk about organisational culture, when you think about fit for purpose, when you hire people, when you think about the support and the training, you've got to have an organisation who is passionate and culturally aligned with the idea of succeeding and contributing to society through that success.
Okay. What are the major components of a good strategy?
The first one, and we've touched on this a little bit this morning, is this idea that you must have an absolute clarity about why you exist.